Will you come back soon?
I'll be back before you know it.
The bright morning sun shone over the crowded city, but for one father, it felt as though darkness had swallowed the world. People passing through the hospital entrance stopped and stared as a desperate man dropped to his knees on the sidewalk, clutching a stack of medical papers in trembling hands. His face was pale from exhaustion, his clothes were worn from endless work, and tears streamed down his cheeks without restraint. Inside that hospital, his 10-year-old daughter was fighting for her life, and the doctors had just given him news that no parent should ever hear. The treatment that could save her was possible, but it would cost more money than he could ever imagine earning. In that heartbreaking moment, the father realized that everything he had built, every possession he owned, and every dream he carried might have to be sacrificed for one purpose alone: saving his little girl. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the incredible power of a parent's love, please like this video, comment below, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire for more emotional and inspiring stories. The father's name was Ryan Mercer. He was 38 years old and had spent most of his life working hard without ever asking anyone for help. 5 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Celine, to a sudden illness. Her passing shattered their small family, leaving Ryan alone to raise their daughter, Amara. Since that day, he had become both a father and a mother to the little girl. Every morning before sunrise, he prepared breakfast, packed school lunches, and made sure Amara started her day with a smile. Then he worked long hours as a delivery driver, often returning home exhausted after dark. Despite the hardships, he never allowed his daughter to feel the weight of their struggles. To Amara, her father was a hero who could fix anything. Amara was a bright child with a love for books and nature. She dreamed of becoming a scientist one day and spent her afternoons collecting flowers from nearby parks and reading about the stars. Her cheerful personality brought warmth to everyone she met. Teachers admired her determination, neighbors loved her kindness, and Ryan often felt that his daughter was the only reason he kept moving forward through life's difficulties. One sunny afternoon, everything changed. Amara collapsed during a school event. At first, everyone thought she was simply dehydrated from standing in the heat. But after several medical tests, doctors discovered a serious condition that required immediate treatment. The procedure was available, and there was hope, but the cost was devastating. Even after insurance and financial assistance programs, the remaining amount was far beyond anything Ryan could afford. The following weeks became a nightmare. Every morning, sunlight filled the hospital corridors while Ryan sat beside his daughter's bed, pretending to be strong. During the day, he rushed between work shifts, hospitals, and financial offices searching for solutions. He sold his savings account first. Then he emptied every emergency fund he had carefully built over the years. Still, the money wasn't enough. As Amara's condition slowly worsened, the pressure became unbearable. Ryan began sleeping only a few hours each night. His eyes became red from exhaustion. Yet every time he looked at his daughter, he found another reason to keep fighting. Soon, he made an even more difficult decision. The small house that held every memory of his family went up for sale. It wasn't just a building. It was the place where Amara took her first steps. It was where Celine's photographs still hung on the walls. It was the last connection to the life they once shared. Selling it felt like losing a piece of his heart. Yet Ryan signed the papers without hesitation. When the house sold, he and Amara moved into a tiny rented apartment near the hospital. Most people would have seen it as a step backward. Ryan saw it as another chance to buy time for his daughter. But the medical bills continued growing. The next thing to go was his car. Without a vehicle, reaching work became difficult. Ryan started walking long distances under the blazing daytime sun and using public transportation whenever possible. Some mornings he left before dawn and returned late at night, his body aching from fatigue. Friends encouraged him to stop sacrificing everything. They worried he was destroying himself. Yet Ryan never slowed down. Every sacrifice brought him one step closer to saving Amara. Months passed. The city moved through spring and into summer. Bright blue skies stretched above crowded streets while Ryan's world revolved around hospital rooms, work shifts, and endless financial struggles. The once cheerful father looked years older than his age. His hands were rough from labor, and stress carved deep lines into his face. Still, he never complained. One afternoon, after completing a double shift, Ryan sat alone on a bench outside the hospital. The sunlight reflected off nearby buildings while families walked through the park across the street. Children laughed. Parents smiled. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to wonder what life would be like if his daughter were healthy again. That dream kept him going. As news of his situation quietly spread throughout the community, something unexpected began happening. People started noticing. A nurse who had watched Ryan's devotion shared his story with friends. Local business owners heard about the father who had sold everything for his daughter. Teachers from Amara's school organized fundraising events. Neighbors collected donations. Strangers left encouraging messages and offered support. The kindness didn't solve everything immediately, but it created something Ryan had almost lost: hope. For the first time in months, he realized he wasn't fighting alone. More people joined the effort. Community groups organized charity walks. Volunteers raised awareness. Small donations arrived daily. Some were only a few dollars, but together they became something powerful. The amount needed for treatment slowly began shrinking. Yet just as things appeared to improve, another challenge emerged. Amara suffered a serious setback. Doctors warned that delaying treatment any longer could have devastating consequences. The remaining funds had to be secured quickly. Ryan felt the ground disappear beneath him once again. There was only one valuable possession left: his late wife's wedding ring. For years, he had kept it safely stored as a treasured memory of the woman he loved. Selling it felt impossible. It represented every promise they had made to one another and every dream they had shared. But when faced with the choice between holding on to the past or protecting his daughter's future, Ryan made the decision without hesitation. The ring was sold. As painful as it was, the sale pushed them closer than ever to reaching their goal. Days later, the final donations arrived. The treatment could finally begin. The morning of the procedure arrived beneath clear blue skies. Sunlight poured through hospital windows as doctors prepared for the operation. Ryan sat quietly beside Amara's bed, holding her hand and praying for a miracle. Hours felt like years. Every second stretched endlessly. Then the doors finally opened. The procedure had been successful. The words barely seemed real. For the first time in months, tears flowed not from fear, but from relief. The burden he had carried for so long suddenly lifted. The fight wasn't completely over, but Amara had a future again. Recovery took time. Weeks turned into months as Amara slowly regained her strength. Each day brought new progress. She began walking longer distances, reading again, and smiling more often. The bright, energetic girl everyone loved gradually returned. One beautiful morning, nearly a year after her diagnosis, Amara walked out of the hospital under her own strength. The sunlight illuminated her face as she stepped into the fresh air. Beside her stood the father who had sacrificed everything to make that moment possible. Ryan no longer owned a house. He no longer owned a car. His savings were gone. Nearly every material possession he had worked for had disappeared. But none of it mattered. Because walking beside him was the one thing he had refused to lose. His daughter. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories like this to people around the world. Speech balloon special request: comment below and tell us what sacrifice you believe a parent would make for their child. We'd love to read your thoughts. As the sun set on that remarkable chapter of their lives, and Amara stood together looking toward a future filled with hope. Their journey proved that true wealth is not measured by houses, money, or possessions. It is measured by love, courage, and the willingness to give everything for the people who matter most. Sometimes heroes do not wear capes. Sometimes they wear worn-out work clothes, carry heavy burdens in silence, and keep fighting long after everyone else would have given up. And because one father refused to surrender, one little girl was given the chance to dream again, to laugh again, and to live the life she